I think we kind of left off in the conversation after things, kind of in the moment that you basically understand Fenthaza's coup is kind of in the process of happening. That this harem of effectively Ras Nsi's lovers were kind of cordoned off. I don't think it was necessarily distinguished who was guarding them and for what reasons. Uh, and I think kind of how the play is going to kind of move along is that we'll have that same one who seemed to be in league with Fentaza will kind of offer to you. Um, think it kind of plays off best to basically present you with the opportunity that they can either go with you and offer you sort of clues and assistance in identifying which side is which to kind of point you in the direction of helping Fentaza. Otherwise, you're kind of approaching situations where effectively you're looking at Yuan-Ti, and to distinguish one from the next is going to be next to impossible. But I feel like that's kind of the moment that they're kind of getting to, that she can kind of present you with this idea that she's able to like change the color of her scales almost like a chameleon, where she can kind of guide you around and either present you as like her captive, or you present her as your I feel like the captive changes, but like when you take a hostage, like you can either present her as a hostage, or she could present you as a captive and kind of give you clues that way. If you take her as a hostage, she can kind of change the scales on her back to almost flash colors to you, to kind of give you a sense of if this person you encounter should be hostile to you or should be friendly to you, and kind of direct you that way. Or in a similar way, if you take her as a hostage, kind of like, if you're holding her hands behind your back, she can almost like pass you signals by just like, pressing with her right hand will tell you friendly, pressing with her left hand would tell you hostile, something of that sort. Uh, Otherwise, you can also simply not take her with you and try to move forward on your own. Do you have thoughts how you would progress? Whether you want somebody with you or whether you want to try to kind of move about this place on your own. And I think the other thing that's going to happen is they are going to ask Taryn to essentially take the others away and remove the three that are friendly to Rosni and try to get them to the priest's quarters, um, and have him effectively kind of removed from the story in that kind of moment.
Yeah, so I think Jarek will he will take up um this Yanti on her offer. Um Thinking about it for a bit, he would decide that for him to play the hostage in order to sell it, he would probably need to at least appear disarmed, and he's not doesn't really think that's going to doesn't really want to be in that position. He doesn't trust. He also doesn't really trust these Yantis, so he doesn't want to put himself in a potential um, where he could be betrayed. So I think he would,
I think
say,
they've seen you draw your sword, So among the things that she could present you there is that at very least you can maintain that hilt, which would leave you not defenseless, but it would be wise to give up your bow and your other swords.
Yeah, so I think he would, you know, he'll go with the plan where he's essentially um the ruse that he's keeping her as a hostage and move about that way.
So with that, I think you'll find her sort of warning you that situations are going to start almost flipped from how they might work out if all things are equal. That when you encounter people who are friendly to her and Fanthaza, that they are going to look at you as an enemy in first light, and when you encounter people who are perhaps hostile to Fanthaza, that they may look upon you as a friend to where you have a chance to um, kind of beguile them. There's kind of that warning that this is going to kind of adjust situations to where you almost have to make these decisions on the fly, how you're going to treat with things. So when she says friendly, those situations are likely to start off hostile, and like it'll be kind of look for ways to turn these situations to your likeness as soon as possible so that you will not harm those who would protect you in the long battles.
Jarek will nod, kind of he understands that idea. That makes sense. If she, yeah, if she's uh, known to be a supporter of uh, Thasa, then yeah, it makes sense that in the initial reaction of those on her side, he's holding her out as a hostage, will be unfriendly, and he'll need to yeah keep that in mind.
So I think the initial things that are going to happen here is actually going to be the kind of sound of battle breaking out from outside of this room. I think the initial push is going to be uh, the normal kind of group as we understand it. They'll kind of instruct you that Thanthaza's quarters is among the high priests, or she is the high priest. That the priests are near the sacrificial chamber, and as they kind of describe this fact that it's like near where they keep prisoners, you guys are going to, or you should start to understand that the area where you all were kept was that spot that is east of the sacrificial chambers, and that you are basically likely to go back towards that area in order to find Venthaza and the priests in that kind of sacrificial chamber of this temple. I think the overall idea will be that the group is going to start to move there. Um, and that will kind of keep Taryn with us at that point. We'll have effectively the purebloods. I can't even think of the word for the harem, but essentially like the people of the harem on Ras Nsi's side. Maybe have them bound. I think for what it's worth, the others will offer themselves to be bound and kind of ask you for, to keep them maybe lighter, but effectively to allow you all to almost bring these out as prisoners and try to get them all to the temple, effectively to the like west and then north of where you all are now. Um, When you do start to hear battle kind of breaking out, or at least the noise all around coming down that hall, what sort of initial thoughts do you have how you would make your egress from this room?
So I think Jarek will, while the others are kind of tying up the others, he'll kind of he'll gesture for uh, the one that's going to be coming with him, and he will, yeah, kind of uh, like having her with him. He's going to start moving back towards this broken down door. Um, he doesn't want. He's going to essentially keep himself in front, almost kind of uh, like kind of sidling sideways towards the door with like her kind of held. Probably would make sense to have the. I think he'd probably actually have his short sword, like his normal short sword, out, kind of like holding it up, you know, kind of I guess like at her throat. Um, and it would be, yeah. So he would start kind of moving towards the side, not saying anything. Um, Wanting to get a look first to see, you know, if he can spot any finding like how close it actually is to the door.
Gotcha. And you said you are keeping her with you?
Yes, kind of beside him, but he's out like in case like someone like attacks if he goes right through. He wants to have himself for her. Um Not like leading her out in front of him, I guess I should say. Yeah. Almost like dragging kind of like coming sideways like with him leading.
So when you push towards the edge of this room, I'm not sure if we described it as actually shutting that kind of gate behind you, but that's kind of like a jail cell bars almost. It's not like a full door that you can't see through, so you can definitely approach it. There's light on both sides of this, so you don't have to carry light, but the actual hall itself kind of shadows itself as you move forward. Make a stealth check here for me. And then actually follow that with a perception, please. So as you're moving forward, you're going to see, I think, probably kind of like the signs of the weave being manipulated and magic being kind of slung about this room. You'll probably quickly or first see that there is a female torsoed Yuan-Ti standing high on that pedestal off to the west, where you all have come in, that is at the top of that initial ramp towards the entrance. Um, the pure blood is going to very quickly kind of call out this person as having the bloodline of Fenthaza, effectively giving you that this is an ally. Among that moment, you'll see that there are three figures pushing up through the center and up towards this second kind of mezzanine level that you are basically looking out on. And she'll basically name them as being servants of Ras Nsi. Uh, and I think as they start to become more visible, you'll see an arrow fly from the west or from the south, where you will see a full uh, reptilian formed Yuan-Ti, effectively like the torso still humanoid, but this one looks almost entirely like a snake. The whole body is scaled, the chest is those kind of like larger, almost softer scales, and the back is kind of like the more armored scales. But that one like very much looks like a snake head on top of a human torso with snake body or lower torso, like instead of legs. And you'll see that one basically pulling a long bow and releasing an arrow towards the three moving from the north. And she will also name that one as the bloodline of Fentaza. So at present, you see 5 yuan-ti on the other side of this door. Three of them are pushing towards the south, and they've been named as servants of Ras Nsi, and then the two to the east or to the west and to the south at present are named as servants of Fentaza. And with that, if you want to enter into this combat, I'm just going to have you roll initiative. If you intend to kind of let it play out for a moment, just let me know.
Yeah, no, I think Jarek will be ready to go. So
And I should state the magic that you see flying is not aimed at the three that you see moving. I think that'll give you the clue that there are more enemies to the north of where you are. That's the same hallway that you all were walked towards Ras Nsi's temple, like his personal temple or his throne room. So, to have that in idea. Right now, people coming from the north of you are your enemies. People south and west of you are likely your allies. But if you are ready, let me get that initiative from you, and we'll push forward here. That didn't work.
and I think maybe like, as Jarek is like preparing to go out, he's going to like gonna try to tell the Yuan-Ti like he's going to essentially kind of like hold her out before him to the south and like try and signal um you know friendly or something if you can. Just trying to give her a little heads up. He's going to be
Audible signal, or are you looking to do some sort of like visual signal?
um he tell her to like just try and make like maybe make a visual signal, not say anything immediately.
Can you roll 2d20 for me? I'm gonna have you control Terran and Eku. Terran for now. Again, I'm gonna kind of write him out of the story as soon as possible. But we'll give you Eku and your what is it, Zeros.
Okay, gotcha.
So he's a +4. So do Terran is 10. Eku I think is a +3 or so, so 15. Yeah, that works.
And how long does bless last? Like, would that still be on Zeros and Terran?
Um,
I think she
it's
cast it
a
at the
minute.
beginning. Oh,
I
so we've
think
spent
it
more
is.
than a minute probably speaking with them, so it's probably faded by now.
Yeah, I think what we'll kind of play it off as is we'll probably switch the bless off to you, Zeros, and Terran for the moment. And we'll drop it off of Quinn. Quinn is pretty stupid powerful and doesn't necessarily need it. I don't remember why, but I feel like it was narratively um more likely that she cast it on Quinn, like at that moment. I feel like maybe you were out of view of her or something about how it played out when she cast it.
Yeah, it was either out of range or yeah, not visible. Yeah.
All right, my bad. I got two more yuan-ti to roll for. Alrighty. So the way this moment is going to kind of play out here, as you basically look to make this point of uh, pushing out into the combat, you're going to see as two of these creatures from the east are going to think release arrows towards the sorceress who is up on the kind of balcony at present. So you're just going to see as kind of four arrows fly off from that right direction. And I believe, yeah, all of those are going to sink into her. And what's that? 48 plus 8. So it's going to do 30. She's not quite bloodied by the attack, but certainly four arrows sticking out of your flesh is not the most exciting of turn of events here. The creature in front, she's going to run up towards the creature that you see off to the south, making a short bow attack while she's crossing the distance, but she's going to be dropping her bow and drawing her scimitar as she leaps out towards it. All of these are going to sink in, and she's going to do not nearly as harmful of an attack to it, but certainly still a dangerous little melee to close that gap before she closes the distance. And then you have Eku coming up next here. What do you think Eku is doing at present?
Would this be when she casts bless, or she has already casted that? We're considering.
I wasn't gonna hold it away from you if you got to go before her. It's perfectly fine if you have her cast bless. It is perfectly acceptable if you would like to have her still hold off back here and stay safe so you're protected with bless. It's perfectly up to you, but I don't. This does not have to be when she casts bless, because if you had gone before her, I still would have wanted you to have it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think for now she'll stay back, essentially, kind of helping to, in case the battle breaks in here, defending the people still inside. The idea that we need to get them to the priest chambers, but for now, I think she would hold back here.
With that, then it will go to yourself, and you can decide how you uh, enter this fray.
Yeah, so I think Jarek will. He's going to move out. Because he's not really dragging her, right? She's kind of like they're doing a ruse. So would he still have his full 30 feet?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
So I think he's going to move, and then they are down a level, right?
Yeah. So to the left here, you can see like the upper level of the snake to the south of you. But those like levels go down like 5 or so feet. Um, So, like, the one pure blood right now is fighting from kind of over the fully snake Yuan-Ti. The four to the north of you are all in a pretty similar situation. That is a steeper drop off, though, where you can kind of see like the top of the heads of the pure bloods running across the ground. And because they're further back from the ledge, you can see more of the two who are crossing the pool of blood right now. But effectively, yeah, that's like a 10 foot down. Whereas the ones to the south of you, each of those layers is like 5 foot down. And then the sorceress is 10 feet above.
Gotcha. Yeah. So he's going to be kind of like just before he moves, he's going to be like calling back to like Tara, like cover me. Um, Are these kind of where the stairs are,
It's not specifically stairs. It's like
or
a
ramp? Yeah.
yeah, ramp. It's difficult to remember that the snakes don't have legs, so they don't need stairs.
And so this one is still holding the bow, right? That he had. This is one of the ones that fired at the sorceress, right?
Yeah, I think for now they're moving and firing. They did not expect to be dropped into melee. So yeah, they're effectively still carrying their bows.
Yeah. So think Jarek is almost kind of like moving again, kind of like sidling over towards them with kind of the his quote unquote prisoner in tow. Um, but I think kind of seeing. I think he's not going to waste any time. He's going to kind of like almost like shove her a little bit, or just like kind of like release her for a moment and turn and kind of as
Gotcha.
he's
Maybe
um,
like halfway towards it, you kind of let up the tension on her, kind of releasing her behind. I feel like that's a pretty clear signal as you're entering the combat with their enemies. Uh, Kind of clearly make it that she's free as you're entering their fray.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then kind of as he once like he's got his other hand free, he's speaking the word and drawing forth his main weapon. And I think kind of he's going to move and then kind of coming down this ramp, like drawing his blade and almost kind of like running down the ramp, slashing at this Yuan Ti to the north of him. Actually, he'll stabbing more. He's going to bring out the arming sword. Uh,
Solid strike into it. Do not have an opponent, so there's not going to be a sneak attack on that. But both of those attacks are going to be solid hits into this creature. As far as the damage goes, you're not going to see an extreme amount of damage here. Bonus action? Does it take your bonus action to draw the sword, or?
I think that's part of my free action because I had the short sword out already.
Gotcha,
Um,
gotcha. Oh no, no, I meant to like to command the sword. But for what it's worth, that's the same idea. If you had the short sword out, I think it's perfectly fine that you also had the hilt already in a form.
yeah, I think it's a bonus action to change the form.
Yeah,
So
so
like
let's get that short sword attack from it as well. That's going to hit as well. Um, yeah, I think we'll find with all of those, you were uh, well predicting the creature's actions. You don't know the AC yet, but all of those were at least uh, a few points above or beyond where the scale of these creatures is. They are effectively naked besides their scale. But 28 damage is a solid bit of damage put down into it. Do you have any other movement or anything else that Jarek would like to do? Otherwise, you'll take it to Zeros.
yeah, I think that was basically all his movement. So that's Jarek. Zeros is going to be kind of following behind. He's going to kind of emerge out from here, but keeping his distance. I think he's going to um, following up, seeing Jarek launching at this. If actually, I guess from this height, if he has a view on it. Um,
You'll have a little bit of cover to the one that Jarek is attacking. You would have maybe a little bit less to the other one. If you closed up to the edge of that balcony, you would have next to no cover on either one.
Yes, I think he can get.
Or even if you cross like to the south some, you would almost reduce cover as well. But yeah, if you went to there, you would still maintain some cover from anybody who's like down below. Not that they can't move also, but that'll at least give you open shots on the two Yuanti moving across the blood.
Yeah, so yeah, he's more. Yeah, Zeros is more thinking trying to get a good sight. So yeah, and he will kind of coming out to here. He will kind of as he's moving, he's moving and he's going to launch a couple of Eldritch blasts into the same Yuan-Ti that Jarek has just kind of started slashing at.
So the first of those attacks is going to. Oh wait, he's blessed. Yeah. So
13
right that.
total.
Yeah. So that as well. Solid hit into the creature. Um, you'll see. I never really thought about how to describe a bless. Feel like for what it is, it's almost like the creature goes to dodge the blast of the Eldritch Blast and is actually moving into it. Kind of predictive, almost like how Brennick can manipulate like the knowledge of time or alternate universes almost. But yeah, solid hit from all of those, dropping another 18 damage.
Nope, and that's it for Zeros.
That is going to leave this creature bloodied. So I tried to leave pink and red so we can still have bloodied and mortally wounded. For red is bloodied again, and then but right now once we have this God, I need to just name her for you. I was thinking Zaraboa before for her name. Once she calls these out for you, I'm going to try to mark everything where orange is Fenthaza's bloodline, the green is going to be Ras Nsi's, and the blue will be things that she calls out as neutral.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that one is going to be left bloodied from those attacks. The creature to the south is going to. Um, I think it's going to yell out in Abyssal, and as it's kind of calling off in this language you've heard as kind of the native language of these snakes, it's almost seamlessly going to start to blend this comment like into common, where you hear it's maybe kind of finishing off the sentence with something to the effect of like unexpected aid has come to us. And I think it's going to break away from that combat and close in with you. And then it's going to make two attacks at the creature that you've just struck. Not effective, not terribly effective as it bites or as it slashes into it with its sword. But you're going to see once it closes that distance, that its attacks are quickly followed by like a lightning quick strike as it bites down with its mouth. Um, and yeah, that's going to sink into the creature's neck. And so, another 7. That's going to leave that creature mortally wounded at present. From above, this response is going to almost immediately be um, in kind of like a broken common, where you'll simply hear this one uh, almost like chanting, as well as kind of inside of this like guttural chant. You're going to hear kind of like another voice that is not like echoing in the same way. It's not like powerfully manipulating the magic of the weave, but this one is going to respond to that same one in kind. Ras Nsi's champions have found otherwise. And maybe with that comment, they'll actually kind of split into it that Zaraboa has perhaps turned Ras Nsi's champions. Um, Something to that effect, basically. You've got at least a little bit of a narrative of them kind of recognizing that these tides are not what most will expect here. Um, and I think she's going to blast forth another few spells here, and you're going to see. She's that sucks to throw a crit, trying to figure out how she's reacting. But she is going to drop both of these spells into that creature that is currently mortally. The first is going to miss. The second is going to hit. I don't think that cannot kill, but yeah, this is going to be a pretty similar spell effect to what you'll see often when Zeros is attacking. This creature kind of manipulates just like a point of space almost in front of her fist. And as it flies forward, you can almost see the air around it's kind of like boiling as this like red mist kind of follows this like point of space that flies out from her palm. And by the time it sinks into this creature, it's just going to disintegrate a large chunk of the Yuan Ti as the creature basically just explodes from force, simply flying through it. And that Yuan Ti is going to fall to the ground dead. That will take us to one of the creatures to your right. I think with the turn of events, it is going to not quite understand what's happening yet, closing in on the one that ran to your assistance, making 2 attacks. One of those is going to hit. Whoops. It's going to do 7. And that should take us to Terran.
Terran has a short bow, right?
Yeah, he's got to have a short bow. He's a halfling.
Yeah. So Terran is going to move. I'll have him move out. I don't think I can control his token, but he would essentially move out into the hall. Doesn't want to move too far because he's kind of been tasked with protecting the ones inside, and kind of Jarek is telling him to cover him. So I think he is going to, seeing Jarek
For
and kind
what
of,
it's worth, like you can use him for this combat. My idea was you guys are going to move as one towards Fenthaza here. But in the long run, the point is to try to prevent those creatures from effectively betraying you all.
right, yeah. So I think seeing kind of like all this happening, like Jarek and this one getting cut down, and figuring Jarek's going to be continue moving north. Although I guess, yeah. So he is going to hold a shot against um, the Yuan-Ti north of Jarek until Jarek closes that distance. and then loose the arrow. Actually,
Uh,
he'll
so
bonus. Actually,
so
bonus action.
technically, I was gonna
Sorry, go
say
ahead.
if he bonuses to get a better viewpoint here, those two that are standing in the blood to the north of you, both of those have an opponent that they are fighting. He can sneak attack either of those two, and he can
Okay,
bonus action to move further. So
gotcha. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if yeah, so he'll bonus action to move to the edge, and then he will drop one down at the Yuan-Ti north of Jarek.
gotcha. So just the one like directly north of you.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you can make that shot. Just roll a d20. He is a plus. Yeah, he's +7 on the shot. 11 is a hit. And he has a +4 to the damage. It should be a d6 actually. Oh wait, unless that was meant to be the
Oh,
bless, but
yeah. The D4 was for the bless. I wasn't sure if that 4 hit.
yeah. Yeah. 4 is actually a just hit. So with the bless, he has a solid strike into it. But yeah, roll a d6 and it's +4 for the damage here. You don't necessarily have to type in the plus. Yeah. So it'll do 8 to that creature.
Oh, and
Oh wait,
you said
sneak
he does
attack.
get sneak
How
attack.
much? What is his sneak attack? 4d6 for his sneak attack. So
Oh, yeah.
25 total, I think.
Yeah, I remember why there's a reason I like playing rogues.
Right? And yeah, with that, I think that's a solid idea that he almost like pierces right through this creature's throat. And you're going to see as she's kind of like cursing out towards the others and is going to go silent as an arrow pierces through her throat. She is bloodied. And that will take it to um, Quinn. I don't think Quinn can do much more than kind of charge out here. She could take a shot with a bow if she shot for the creature that is on the kind of mezzanine level to the west of her. She's got a pretty clear shot. If she went for the creature that Taryn just shot, it has cover, uh, like pretty solid cover. And if she went for the creature that is like west of that, it has less cover but is still covered. But I think those are her 3 targets right now if she were to shoot with her bow.
I feel like Quinn is more the charge in swinging, so I think she'll like dash. I think to essentially with her sword out to get into maybe kind of around the other side of the um, Yuan-Ti, not the bloodied one, the one next to that one.
Gotcha. She wants to get into the blood pit though.
Oh,
I mean, I'm not saying she's not, but I feel like if she's going up there, she's running up behind Taryn and like leaping off and over that ledge into the blood.
so maybe actually instead she would go jumping off the edge next to the one now that's to her right here, so more like this area.
That track was called Germanic War Drums, and it has that fucking child's nursery rhyme. My bad, I got distracted. Uh, you were saying, is she staying out of the blood, doing something like that? Is that I got distracted?
Oh, no worries. Yeah, yeah, so she would essentially leap down and close with the one, yeah, to north. Yeah, so where you've got her here. Or maybe even closer up towards the it's like to the right of her, if she can get that far.
Um, make a roll a d20 for me. feel like acrobatics here. I don't think she has it, but let me check real quick. She's got athletics and survival. And what'd you roll?
A
Five.
5.
Gotcha. I have a feeling. Yeah, okay. It was low, but I feel like that's still enough that the Yuan-Ti can kind of jump out of the way, but I like the idea that Quinn is kind of leaping down on top of it and tries to brace her fall, dropping into this creature. But that's going to take us around. If this one reacts to Quinn, dropping in on her. Yeah, so this one is kind of without hesitation, like noticing this threat from above, is going to spin on Quinn, making two sword attacks into her. The kind of like pillar that they're almost like fighting around is just enough of a defense that Quinn is just like fucking with this creature, finding no threat at all from it. You're going to hear more than I think anybody has yet seen the other pure blood that was coming from the south as these two drop into their own little personal battle. Its first attack is a miss. The second one's going to hit, doing just a pretty minimal amount of damage to the other. That creature's dead. The one to the north here. It's gonna go for two scimitars into the creature just immediately to the south of it. The second one will hit, and then it's gonna try to bite into it. And so what is that? 6. I think they're +1. No, they're more than that. +3. And then the bite is +3. So 12 plus 6, 18. And that's going to take us back to the one that's kind of fighting with the one to the south. Two scimitars into the other, and it's going to deal a few better strikes with 13 damage. That will take us back to Eku, leading into you. Do you want Eku to do anything, or you can just go right to yourself?
Yeah, no, I think Echo will just kind of, kind of take up position here, but otherwise she's hanging back. Meanwhile, Jarek is just kind of as this one falls in front of him, he just continues on down the ramp. I think he will, essentially just kind of. I don't know if he has to climb into that or just essentially jump into this pit here, but he is just kind of without hesitation moving forward, stabbing out at the Yuan-Ti to his north in the thing.
Gotcha. So one of those is pretty much a human who like kind of has like proto scales. That's the one directly north of you, who's bloodied. The other one is one of the ones that is actually like half snake. Are you going for the one directly north of you?
Uh, Actually, I think he's gonna as he's moving, he's gonna shout like Zero, just, take that one, and he's gonna turn his attention to the probably the bigger threat here, the unbloodied one, to this northwest, or yeah, and he's going to so launching out, stabbing out at. And I think he's actually going to make that a distracting strike. That's the one that gives advantage to the next attacker.
Gotcha. And it adds the damage, so that's for 15 damage.
Yes, yeah. Second attack with the arming sword, and then short sword.
Gotcha. So as you cut into this creature, I guess really as you like stab into this creature, all of your attacks are finding true as you um I mean, you're technically still blessed, but regardless, you're finding your stabs like sliding directly in between these scales, and the smooth, soft flesh is just giving way to them with one, two, and then a third quick stab with your offhand. This creature's going to very clearly have like bile starting to drip down from its chest as you've clearly pierced through its organs, and that creature is bloodied. And Zeros is going to go for the one that is bloodied to the north of you.
Yep, he's going to kind of move to the top of the ramp here, get like a more direct view down, and then unleash his Eldritch Blast. Yep, into the more human looking one.
One, two solid strikes into it. And yeah, that's going to kind of like blast away like an entire arm of this creature, clearly bleeding out with I can't even say
Arterial.
artery wounds. Yeah, arterial wounds. It is severely bloodied or severely injured.
And he's going to Zeros will hold his position there at the top of the ramp.
I think this one's going to take advantage of the distracting strike, slashing twice at the snake-like one to the left, and then it is going to uh, kind of like with the spring motion of its body, leap into the more humanoid one as it bites down into its throat. So the first attack is going to hit. Second with the sword is a hit, and then the bite is going to miss. And let's see. What is the sword? A d6. So we've got 8, 14 more. You'll hear the same kind of guttural chant that kind of echoes through this room. This time there's going to be a bolt of this kind of like heat ray that flies towards both of those creatures. Actually, yeah, towards both of the creatures. So the first one towards the snake-bodied one, uh, 10 is a miss. Second one towards the humanoid also is going to miss. Uh, Perhaps just at that point, the fray is just a little bit too much. They're not like getting any of their shots down target. The humanoid one that is between you two is going to drop a sword strike into you and then one strike into the actual snake-like form. You can kind of see that this one is not looking for survival, but it is kind of like parrying the two of you with these attacks. Uh, it's still attacking. So like my point is to kind of like be offensive towards you both to try to protect itself, kind of thing. But it's also not running. So first towards you, miss. Second towards the actual snake one, and it's going to sink in for 7. And that's going to take that one to a bloody condition. And we are down to Terran.
All right, so Taryn, I think, is going to holding his position here. He's going to fire an arrow down into the mortally wounded one, trying to finish it off.
He's got a +7. That is a solid hit.
I don't see there's with sneak attack. I don't think it's possible for it to survive, but
Yeah, I don't think so. It's got 3 hit points. Yeah, that's done. Uh,
And I think otherwise Terran is going to hold. Actually, he might just move north a bit toward like the very edge here. Yeah. And I think meanwhile, yeah, he'll hold there. Quinn is going to just kind of now that she's kind of landed, going to start swinging out at the Yuan-Ti right in her face.
so Quinn is a +6 to her attack. She's got 2 great sword attacks.
The first will miss probably with a 10.
Yeah, the 10 is a miss. The 8 is going to hit with the 14. She does 2d6 plus 2.
For 9.
Any interest in moving with her? Otherwise, that one's going to respond.
I think she'll just kind of like move to circle around it a little bit, like up to its north.
Like that?
Yeah, kind of still not into the blood, but yeah, just maneuvering a bit. Yeah.
So as it kind of follows her, it predicts her moves pretty solidly. It's going to get 2 solid hits into her. I need 2 con saves from you. If you just roll those d20 real quick, it is effectively what, like not a 1 or a 2 kind of thing. Yeah, it's 4 damage. So that's not going to injure her as it strikes into her. This one's going to be one of the ones down to the south, attacking the one to the northwest of it. Both of its attacks are going to be ineffective. The snake like formed one to the northwest of you is going to I think do a pretty similar situation. It's going to do a sword attack into you, and then one into the. No, I think it's going to do 2 swords into the other snake, and then it's going to try to leap across to bite you. So the 2 sword attacks are both going to hit. To try to bite into you is going to miss, and it's going to deal 14 damage to that one, and that's going to leave that one to your west severely, mortally wounded, the one that is fighting like with you.
Gotcha.
This is right before Eku, just the one responding to the one. Like these are the 2 in the south. One of those is going to hit, dealing 4 more damage. And then anything from Eku, otherwise it'll go to you.
Yep, Eku's staying there. Jarek is continuing to maybe like wading a little bit deeper into the blood here, stabbing out at the this Yuan-Ti here. Ooh,
The blood does not like you. The short sword attack is successful for another 10.
uh, yeah, I think he's going to yeah, he'll hold there, kind of the like as he's splashing through, the blood gets in his eye, kind of just distracts him enough that he just like kind of is almost swinging blind. The first 2 miss, and he kind of lucks out with the third one. Zeros now turning his attention to the same one as the other one is dropped.
Yeah, Zeros is going to get the kill, but as you kind of see when your eyes do kind of clear up, Jarek is going to see that your short sword pierce is pretty much right through this creature's sternum. You've basically pierced through that like center portion of its ribs, breaking through its sternum. You've likely stabbed into the creature's heart. It was fatally wounded with that strike. But Zeros is going to bring it low, as those blasts are just going to disintegrate the like remaining torso of this creature, and it's simply going to fall to the ground dead.
Yeah, just as Jarek's kind of like wiping the blood out of his eyes, it gets splashed again with the remains of this thing. Zeros blasted in pieces.
So for what it's worth here, two more uh, of the purebloods are alive. They're definitely weaker creatures, still more human than others. They're certainly still stronger than most commoners, but you guys can lay them low. You can gather them up as some of your other prisoners, but this combat is very clearly turned to your sides with that strike there. Do you have any? Let me actually see this real quick. Yeah, let me do the other two Yuan-Ti because it'll go to Terran then to make that decision. But you can at least think about, do you want to try to capture these creatures versus just killing them off? Yeah, that one's not enough to kill it. She won't be enough either. So yeah, do you have any interest? Do you want to kill off these last two humanoid ones, or do you want to try to capture them and almost like add them to the harem pure bloods that you've already captured?
I think now, given the tide of battle and uh, yeah, I think we will try to capture them. Yeah, like probably or knock them out or um
Yeah, like knocking them out would be essentially what it is. They're not giving up the actual combat. They would fight to the death if you guys would fight to the death. But as long as you decide that you'd like to capture them, physical strikes at point blank range are always captures.
yeah. So I think these two like they've kind of seem pretty fanatical, but yeah, I think they'll try to yeah, they'll take them alive, knock them out, tie them up. Maybe see if like Karen can get some information from them later if they kind of bring them with the group, but not really expecting it, but worth a shot.
So I think as the like explicit enemies between the two of you are laid low, you'll see as the other two are not like immediately ready to like lay down their guard for what you may be, but they are quick to kind of like hold themselves steady for any threat from you while they basically become like start to speak to Zaraboa to see what's happening here. And you'll I think yeah, you'll probably are going to see that the two snake-like creatures are going to speak in again abyssal. I don't think any of you guys know it's abyssal yet, but simply it is the demonic tongue that effectively it's like antithetical to your ears. It hurts to hear this spoken because it is so like horrific of a tongue. And you've already come to hear it enough times that you guys recognize this is their native tongue that they like fall back to speaking. And Zaraboa is going to respond to them in common. where you're going to basically hear effectively her recanting of you all coming into the harem, that she was about to escort you all to find Fantaza. You'll hear the two of them somewhat perhaps questioning something. Like you can at least hear like the inquisitiveness to their responses, and you'll hear again inside of like this common, like abyssal common, where Zaraboa is basically responding, if you were a threat to Fanthaza, you're a threat to her. If you are an ally to her, you're what it would take to take the temple. And in the end, does Dendar the Night Serpent care about who lives and who dies? If the whole world is destroyed, all is right. But she's basically recanting that there's nothing to lose if Fanthaza's killed. It's all sort of a part of the plan. But if you guys do help, like this is her plea towards them. This is like why I'm taking them to see Fanthaza. And you'll eventually kind of see as like this tension's going to drop. But in that conversation, do you all more or less kind of sit to the side? Do you have any interjections or any thoughts as they're kind of almost discussing like what to do with you? Um, and you'll certainly have like a recognition uh, that all of the purebloods, both those from the harem as well as those who are like the one, I guess, who's fighting alongside these two, they have a lower kind of class. As soon as any of the like full snake bodies like start to speak, she's silent. Um, but do you have any thoughts like while that kind of conversation's happening?
Yeah, I think Jarek would just be kind of like adding, like our fight now is with Ras Nsi. He's taken something we want back. We have no 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 quarrel with Fanthaza. Not, I mean, I think Jarek is clearly not, you know,
I think you'll see that they're aware of what you know to be the cubes. I don't think they would name them as the cubes. But you'll at least see that they have an awareness that something precious has been taken from the surface, and from Omu in particular. So I think you'll be at least aware enough that they'll have a response to some effect of Ras Nsi has brought precious treasures, keys to the depths of the dungeon below us. We shall see what Phantasia thinks of your choices. But with that, I think you have a large retinue, and they will start to usher you all towards like that western corridor. I think you'll have Zaraboa kind of speak to the effect of um, at least the three who heard the conversation. She's basically going to speak to those, the other from the harem that were kind of to Rosni's side, uh, should be brought to the prison chambers and should not be allowed uh, their freedom at this point. They know too much.
yeah, Jarek will nod at that. I mean, he has uh, no intention of killing them, but essentially, wants to, agrees that she needs to get them out of the way. For now, he's focused on Ras Nsi. So yeah, he will kind of as the fight winds down, all this happening, he's going to kind of climb back out of the pit, try and wipe what he can. What he can. He's very clearly not kind of with the adrenaline. He kind of leapt into the pit of blood, without thinking about it. Now he's kind of like, as he has time to process it a little bit more, he's kind of like clearly disgusted. I think it's clear from his face that he's not. He doesn't consider any of these Yanti his friend. It's more like the enemy of my enemy kind of thing, but he's willing to work with them to get what he needs. Like, yeah, so he will start moving towards the west here.
Oh, that's the eastern one. That's towards
Oh,
Ras Nsi.
sorry. Yeah.
I'm just gonna gather everybody up so I can copy paste you to the next screen.
Gotcha.
I think in this hall, um, again, I feel like it works out best to simply say that there's not much happening in this hall. I think you can probably hear the echoes of battle coming from the south. I don't see any reason why there should be fighting in this area at present. But you'll basically be kind of walk through this area and then you're taken back up to the north towards that entrance area. And then when you're brought up to this area, we're basically going to have so let me see. I think they'll take you down this hall. I think they're going to bring you into the sacrificial chamber. So from here, I think what they're going to do is actually drop the remaining concubines down into one of those one of those like upside down bells where they're basically like dropped into these like cooling chambers where you guys were first placed when you were captured here. I think at present the other three who are kind of on the neutral front are going to be placed in a pretty similar way, where they are not trusted, but they are also not necessarily dropped into the same one. Um, Maybe denoting that perhaps they won't get such like poor treatment, but they're definitely kind of treated a little bit differently. You're going to have the sorceress is going to kind of leave you all when you do first get to the sacrificial chamber there, and she's going to head off to this room that is in the hall that kind of leads off to the north here. I don't think you will really see into that room as she kind of um, I feel like probably is going to kind of like knock to the door. You'll hear her like whisper in like abyssal as this message is kind of passed through the door before she enters, and in about the same time it takes to get everybody into those prison cells, you will eventually see as a Female Yuan-Ti, lower torso is the snake portion. Upper torso looks like a Cholton female. Dark skin, dark hair. She's wearing essentially no clothing, but has kind of like a like massive like yellow scarf like wrapped around her body. Um, Not like a modesty thing, but effectively like her clothing is just light like gossamer threads, kind of typical of Chalt, where the heat is so horrendous most people don't really wear clothing so much as they cover up what they need to or feel they need to cover up. But eventually you will see as Fanthaza is introduced to you all. Um, and I think with that, she's probably going to send away the other purebloods. They'll probably return to her chamber at that point, and you guys can have a audience at least at present. You have effectively two of these Yuanti here with you. You have Fenthaza, and I think it makes sense to still have Zaraboa effectively with you as she's somewhat kind of pleading her case. You'll see that while Fenthaza kind of stands at the altar, sort of with her, I can't do it. There we go. With her back kind of to this, like ramp up and beyond, kind of out of sight of her, to behind her. And she is effectively going to start off with kind of recanting of the story from all of those who are kind of bringing everybody here, with a recognition that it is one of the concubines who was kind of dealing with you. You'll then hear as she kind of listens to the concubine, and will eventually look to you all. Um, I don't think it necessarily has to be much because it's like a third recounting of this kind of an agreement. But you will eventually have Zara, or fuck, so many names. I gotta actually look at my notes.
Zaraboa.
Fenthaza. You'll eventually have Fenthaza kind of look to you. Ras Nsi has made dealings with those he does not understand, and his life is forfeit. There is a great boon I wish for within the tomb below us. Ages past that would bring our God into this world. If you would help us, we have no need for the cubes that block the way into the tomb. The very same tomb that the Ras Nsi was tricked into protecting. So kind of with this idea that their interests are in the tomb, but with kind of a recognition that they've almost been tricked into protecting it for this time. And that is effectively why they want to kill Ras Nsi. Um, but I don't know if they've given you the name of Dendar the Night Serpent. But that's their god. You've seen a few images of it in like the Blood Temple. It's like the massive snake that basically is bleeding out the blood that actually comes from this sacrificial room here. Do you have any other questions about what she might have said in what was probably a much longer speech, but effectively kind of getting through some of that info?
Um, nope. I mean, I think, yeah, no, it seems pretty clear. Actually, do you mind if I just take like a quick 5 minutes?
Oh no, you're definitely golden. Go for it.
All right, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back.
Excellent.
Um, yeah, so I think given what Jarek has, because he heard about Dendar the Night Serpent at Orolunga, um, and so he knows that if, or from what he's heard, if Dendar was actually brought into the world, it would be a very bad thing. So I think when he's going to try to essentially keep a straight face, like a stoic expression on his face when she like mentions the crown and recovering it. Um, but he's uh internally he's like already telling himself like there's no way I'm gonna hand this over. So he's trying to like kind of hide that.
Well, it's about to get worse because I already had a plan that I was going to steal from Harry. Among the things that she is going to go through the process of is effectively go through a ritual with you. And she is going to sacrifice a human on this altar. And with that blood is basically going to bind you into a contract here. Among the things, part of what I think you can at least understand here is that there's two separate things happening here. There is an imminent threat that is actually real, and then a existential threat that is perhaps on the same or maybe a greater level, but that is at least like off in the distance. And that's kind of where Dendar the Night Serpent is the level of this is an ancient deity that is almost like predating humanity, that has never kind of made a presence into this reality because it destroys realities versus um, the actual. I think you guys have heard the name of the soulmonger. I think you guys have heard and at least you understand like the death curse and what that is doing to reality. And that's part of why I feel like you would still be inclined to make what is effectively an unbreakable promise that if you find this opal crown that she is describing, your life will basically be bound to actually delivering it to her.
Yeah, I think of Dendar the Night Serpent. I think of it like the is it like the world eating serpent from Norse mythology kind of thing, like some way
I
the
I would not be surprised. I feel like that sounds right. I almost think of Indian mythology, but part of like my schooling was also with this understanding that all around the world there's religions that share very similar ideas. But like for my understanding, like with Indian mythology, like actual like India, not Native Americans.
yeah yeah
Among Indian mythology, like the number eight for one is a very powerful number because it comes back on itself. But snake of time was a loop, in the same idea as like the self-consuming snake from like Greek mythology, where time is this cycle that goes through generation, and then it starts to turn on itself into like consuming itself and death, and then it goes back into the cycle of generation, and that's like the cycle of infinity. um so I feel like maybe simply with Jarek's understanding of religion, it's a far away threat. I think other people might not even look at it as a threat who are more like religiously tuned and see like the Yuan-Ti for like the psychotic creatures that they are, in that they imagine this thing. But for most people, like, to imagine the cycle of time, like the Indian snake of time, if I understand correctly, an epoch is something like 500,000 years. And each epoch that makes up that figure eight, there's like four different epochs in that figure eight. So the cycle of time happens in cycles of 2 million years. That's kind of the level of like, say if Island was actually familiar with Dendar, that I think maybe Island would look at this threat. Versus like, again, the death curse is present, it is now, and the soulmonger is currently consuming all of the souls of the dead.
Right, right, yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I mean, yeah, Jarek will,
But again,
yeah,
by no means, this is meant to be something that is extremely hostile to your being. You are in between a rock and a hard place here. It's part of why I say she's also bringing a human out of these pits, and like, she's dissecting this person in front of you to harvest their blood, to cast this ritual, like, to bind you to it. And she does this with no remorse. There's no like reflection of emotion in her body as she does this. This is a horrific experience. Like, besides the fact that, yeah, you're looking at like imminent destruction of the world and imminent destruction of the world.
yeah. So yeah, Jarek is clearly, yeah, he can't bring himself to look at, like, he doesn't watch the, um like, the ritual being performed, like the sacrifice, and he's clearly, yeah, not happy with the situation, but it's he's essentially kind of like internally trying to convince himself that this is our only play. Um, yeah,
So I think that will take us um towards the idea that Daza is going to explain that Ras Nsi inside this temple, even in his weakened, failing state, is still a powerful foe not to be underestimated. I think she will present you with a few different options here. Among those would be that there are 5 points at which he can teleport around the temple effectively without any effort to himself. You've now seen, I think, four of them. You've seen one in this uh, in this map here, in the top right corner. There are these like floating discs that kind of like almost float on top of a serpent, and they're glowing with this like aura of power. You've seen that one. You've seen the two here. One of them was in the harem with his concubines who were of his bloodline. One of them in the actual temple over the dais of Dendar the Night Serpent. And the last was when you all were in. I think this is all blacked out to you right now, but if you give me a second, I will reveal it in the south. Um, when you guys were actually in the throne room. So I think one of the things that she will bring up to you is basically that if we can take those four rooms, we can hold Ras Nsi in his chamber, where the fifth one is. Um, the alternate is to attempt to take the entirety of the whole Thane, basically to win over anybody who would assist him and eventually kind of lock him down via just not having any support left. Do you have a thought on effectively, do you want to try to take his throne room, or do you want to try to take the rest of the temple? Which basically boils down to, does Jarek want to confront Ras Nsi, or would Jarek rather try to assist Fenthaza's troops take the rest of the temple to where Ras Nsi basically becomes not impotent, but effectively, without anybody backing him up, uh, falls from power?
Yeah, I think Jarek would the he would prefer to confront Ras Nsi on his own. Almost as if like, okay, we've entered this kind of terrible pact, and almost like, I need to yeah, I'm not gonna leave, dealing with Ras Nsi to someone else. Like it's on me, it's on us. So he would be, we'll try to take the essentially isolate him by taking um the chambers with the teleportation and then confront him directly. That would be Jarek's idea.
Gotcha. So, we will, I think with that, what we'll end up doing is that something probably will have this play off as maybe this is where Taryn will kind of get sent off to begin to um, take some of the other areas where Rosny might gain uh, support from to try to basically aid in preventing anyone from kind of taking your back and effectively flanking you. She will warn you that Rosny is always guarded by his champion Sekluk, who you've seen already is effectively a full snake, one of those creatures that is more snake than it is human. It only resembles being humanoid in that it has arms, kind of situation. He will always have Sekluk by him. Uh, She will warn that the battle for the throne room will be vicious, but if you force him to retreat, you can take the throne room, and that will at least give everybody, like, it will give Fanthaza's troops the four teleporters that are not his personal room. Um, I think she'll tell you that he has a secret door into his chambers from the western side of his throne room, that you can go into the chamber, but she warns you against necessarily chasing him down if he starts to retreat. But that can be a choice that's up to you. She's not going to try to hide that information. And you can kind of tell that on some level, um, this is one of those things almost like if you want to attack a snake that's cornered when it's most deadly, go for it. You might die and it solves the problem of mine, or you might kill Ras Nsi and that solves the problem of mine. But you can kind of feel like a sort of like remorseless, like risk your life at your own will kind of thing when she talks about like if you were to push forward beyond chasing him out of the throne room. The general goal, though, is going to be to take the throne room more than it is necessarily to kill Rosny. Um, and I think the final thing that she will offer you is a dark gift, uh, if you would desire it. She like pulls another human from the pit and has it brought to her, and she asks you, like with this human like standing beside her, if you would care to have your body purified to where fire does not injure you.
I think Jarek is he's going to refuse. Doesn't want to be. Yeah, he's not willing to sacrifice another human um, for his own uh, benefit. Even if part of him knows that this human's just probably going to be sacrificed anyway at some point. Um, he just can't bring himself to be directly responsible for it, so he will. He's like, I'll take my chances, my own skill.
You play a dangerous game to save the life of one who cannot save themselves, but risk yours. Who would fight for all the lives on this plane? It would do you well not to fear fire in the times before you.
Jarek is going to kind of silent for a few minutes or moments, but I think again he's going to be finally just kind of give like a sharp kind of like final shake of his head, and I've, I've made my choice. I've seen enough of yeah. He I just think Jarek would not be able to bring himself to it, even if I mean, he realizes that it's yeah, it would be a benefit, but
And with that, there's going to be once more that she kind of like starts to levitate this person over the sacrificial altar and is going to once more look you in the eyes and start to form this vision of this massive like great sword, and the sword is going to start to spark into fire before your eyes, and she'll once again present you. Your life may be worth more than theirs. Do you deny this gift one last time?
I do.
Very well. Perhaps this will be what it takes for your victory. Perhaps you know more than you. Ras Nsi is not a foe to toil lightly with. He's gained the great power from many sources. Though he's weakened now, is still a threat that should not be looked down upon. Tread safely moving forward.
Jarek will just kind of give a nod, but not respond to that.
So, I think you are presented with at least the slightest bit of time. Do you want to take a short rest here?
That I think Jarek will. Yes.
Gotcha. So you can take the time. You can expend some hit dice. You can do anything that you would like to prepare. You have at least an understanding that you are about to approach Ras Nsi and Seklek and make an attempt to take the inner or the throne room of this area here.
Yeah. So he will. He'll spend the time kind of like resting a bit, almost like he's meditating. Like he's not the most prayerful person, but he's like doubting himself and like trying to convince himself that he made the right choice and steeling himself for what he knows is going to be a very difficult fight ahead. Um, but yeah, after that rest, he'll kind of yeah, even looking kind of even more kind of stoic and serious than normal. Kind of get ready and almost kind of like nod to the others. It's time.
Yeah, I think as far as things go, you're going to, I think, head in there with three of the priests. They are going to come out of that hall to the north of you that is currently behind Fantaza. And they will join you. I think you are going to have two more of the snake-like humanoid or the snake-like ones that are like humanoid torsos, but they're pretty much entirely snake-like. And I think those five are going to follow you into this battle. You are going to, you can take Zeros, and you are welcome to take Eku with you as well. And it is going to be that group versus you, or versus what you know to be Seklik and Ras Nsi. Um, I think you'll go in there with the understanding if you can kill Ras Nsi, great. If you can kill Seklik, that is ideal. and if you can get Ras Nsi to retreat, that will give you the room, and that is the biggest. Those are the two main goals here. Probably priority A is take the room. You pretty much can't take that without priority B, kill Seklik, and goal C would basically be to kill Ras Nsi. Um, but do you have any other questions effectively before I don't think Fanthaza is going to risk herself until she knows Ras Nsi is weakened. I think is perhaps one of the biggest things that you see here. But she's sending in effectively her other priests, and like two of the strongest like males of her bloodline.
Yeah, I don't I think Jarek is just yeah, he's ready to go. He's almost kind of like looking towards Eku and um not sure like still not 100% sure he made the right choice. I mean, he understands the concepts of, the greater good, and if sacrificing one human to give himself a better chance of defeating Rosny, which could save more people. And but he just at the end of the day, he couldn't bring himself to be directly responsible for something like that, and he's almost kind of like looking to her, hoping like you know, almost kind of like without saying anything, almost at trying to almost asking like did I make the right choice? But then he's gonna finally kind of like again like his kind of jaw will set, and he'll start striding into or yeah, preparing to go, you know, blades drawn, probably saying a little prayer to I mean, he wasn't never really was a particularly devout follower of a god, but he probably I feel like
This is one of those things where I feel like Tamora, the goddess of luck, is one of those gods where, again, I don't think there's agnostic people. I definitely don't think there are atheistic people, but I feel like people who just want to kind of find fortune tend to have like one of those gods. Like Tamora for humanoids is just like the god of like good fortune, in the same way as I think Dumathoin is like the goddess or the god of like fortune for dwarves. I think there's usually those are almost like the quote unquote agnostic god, where it's like I'm just kind of praying for you for good luck here.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, so he'd
It
just kind of
rem-
be like, sorry, go ahead.
it rem- it reminds me of the guy from like the Mummy, who he's got like 9 different necklaces of deities. And when the mummy's like first resurrected, he's like praying to the one, it doesn't respond. He drops that necklace and grabs the next one, and he like looks at it to like say that prayer. Nothing happens. He drops it and he like grabs for the next one, and he like says that prayer, and he's just like, one of these should affect this deity, and that's all I need.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
right now I've given you at least the like start view of the entrance to that temple. This is again effectively like the right side of that room you just battled in. This is basically like the temple or the throne room that you guys have been brought into before. So it's effectively like you're being drawn back through those areas to this temple. Do you have any thoughts how you would approach this area, and in particular, do you have any thoughts on how you would like to approach this battle?
He would probably ask maybe one of the Yuan-Ti as they're kind of moving, like, can you tell me anything about Seklik? What can I, What should I expect?
They'll basically give you that Seklik is effectively the same kind of type of Yuanti as these males. They are effectively all like the full like snaked humans. Um, Essentially warning you that their prowess with weapons is plenty strong and dangerous. Their bite is certainly just as dangerous, as they carry a poisonous bite. Or I guess realistically it should be venom, but D&D does not distinguish between venom and poison. And that's why they have the poisoned condition and also poison damage. That's two different things, because it's venom damage and the poisoned condition. Um, yeah, I think that's their basic idea. That they basically have is Seklik is the best of them. Um, if Fanthaza is the second in command because of her um magical prowess, and that she was empowered before the rise of Ras Nsi. Seklik is second in command because Ras Nsi has drawn him forth as his champion. Um, Seklik is a formidable foe, and part of why Seklik needs to die is that Seklik is just as dangerous as Ras Nsi and is like a zealot of his. To kill Ras Nsi would not actually stop kind of that same disease within them. Think that probably satisfies it. Probably what they would be able to share and be forthright with.
Yeah, so Jarek will kind of will nod. Understood. Very kind of like a give like a curt, almost kind of like, thank you. Um, sorry. In terms of approaching the battle, he not really sure what to expect.
You know, Ras Nsi is effectively on the same level as Fanthaza in his powers as a Yuan-Ti. He is a mage from his previous life, and he is a powerful caster. And by at least a little bit, you've already seen that he wields a great sword that burns with a fire from within it.
Yeah,
On some level, they'll give you all at least the warning that to fight next to each other is dangerous. Effectively warning you that among the things that are going to happen inside of this room is there are going to be points where fire is going to explode from all around. You are going to be um, there's going to be fireballs. At very least, the warning about the fire is all around part of his magic.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, Jarek's almost all he's kind of wondering, like, is there any chance, Rosty doesn't already know he betrayed him? Like, can I essentially try to approach and maybe get like a drop on Seklik, or would it be better to just go in immediately and um to go in swinging? Um, he's not confident in his own ability to kind of play that game, so I think he's just going to be like, spread out. Uh, if there's any way you can
Um,
keep,
Fanthaza is the seer. Ras Nsi has many powers, but it is Fanthaza who keeps him knowledgeable of those things that are not directly before him.
Jarek will nod, and at that,
If you wish to approach him, you could use the element of surprise, but we must remain behind. You will not have our assistance in the first blows that are struck.
Jarek is going to consider that and decide. In that case, better to better to go in swinging. Take every bring everything we have at him, and I will focus on Seklik. Uh, any of you can try to keep Ras Nsi occupied, kind of looking at Zeros as well with that statement. Um, First thing, and Thaza said, kill Seklik, take the room. And I think with that, he will, again, like do one last almost like check of his like, weapons. He's got them both out, having decided not to try the surprise route. And he'll kind of like, he'll like take a deep breath and kind of then again give like one more nod and like let's go.
All right, so if you would like to place yourself and Zeros on that map, I'm about to place Eku. You can decide where you would like anybody to be. But effectively, I'll let you kind of describe to me how you want this kind of like initial rush to kind of happen here. Um, you can describe basically the three of you. You've got the three priests, and then two of the like the full snake Malsons.
Yeah, so I guess actually the first thing Jarek would ask Eku is there any way she would be able to bless us one more time before this fight?
Before she actually casts it, do you desire for my assistance? And it'll kind of just be to the same effect of Eku is not keen on going into battle. Ras Nsi is not a good person, so it is certainly not somebody she's necessarily like hesitant to injure. But effectively, she's offering to bless one of the other Yuan Ti if she's going to hold back and just stay out of view here. Do you have a thought there?
Yeah, I think Jarek would say, do what you can from here, support us, but we will handle Rosnacy and his lackey.
Would you like a priest or one of the melee, or not necessarily melee, but would you like a priest or one of the combat Yuan Ti blessed here?
Probably Jarek would say one of the ones more likely to be front line. So one of the one of the melee. Oh crap! I'm getting a phone call. I just gotta step away for a minute.
All good. I'm going to take a second setting this up, anyways.
Okay, I'm back.
Alrighty. So, when you all are let me actually have you roll 3d20 is a stealth check for yourself, Zeros, and then Echo. Um,
So that would still only be a 6 for Jarek.
gotcha. Do you have a dexterity modifier listed for Zeros?
I think Zeros is just straight across the board, tens. So it would be just a uh, what was it, 10 for him. Yeah, he has no skill in stealth. So yeah, just be straight.
Gotcha. So that goes 5, so that's 35. You said yours was a 6 total, so 39. I think they're all plus 3, so it's another 15. So 7109 divided by 8. I feel like that's like 12-ish a piece. My bad, it's close to his passive perception, so I actually want to do the math real quick.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Ah, I was good. It's 13 and a half. So at some point, you all are going to hear at very least like a faint enough of a message, like a faint enough of a sound from within this temple as you're approaching to where the Yuan-Ti that you're with are going to basically notify you that they've heard us, that Ras Nsi basically just called for his defenders kind of into um, essentially position here. With that, you are going to hear from within the voice, which the Yuan-Ti will basically call out as the voice of Seklik, as basically yelling into the void. You're going to hear in Abyss what effectively they'll translate to you is Seklik is announcing Ras Nsi and warning them that anybody who approaches with weapons will be assumed to be among the traitors of Fanthaza and will be subject to death. But when you are ready, how would you like to progress forward? You are at the top of initiative.
Yeah, I think Jarek is just going to. So it begins, and he's going to kind of like saying that softly to himself and kind of getting into the warrior mindset, banishing all his kind of doubts. He's just going to go moving in, weapons drawn, not making any attempts at deception.
So, as you round the corner, you are going to see closest to you are two massive lizard-like creatures that are kind of belly to the ground, um, almost like held back by chain leashes that you will see are held by one each of the purebloods, like the fully humanoid ones that are just kind of snake-like scales, like proto scales on their flesh. Standing in the center of this room, you can see Seklik, the champion of Ras Nsi, is kind of between these two, between pillars that actually kind of separate him, and he is at the base of Ras Nsi's throne. And 2 layers up, you can kind of see Ras Nsi kind of like coiled around this throne. And Ras Nsi still kind of sits with like an eerie level of relaxed, um, like nonchalance, while these other 5 creatures in front of you all are standing at the ready and kind of prepared for whatever may come. But as you move in, what would you like to do with that sight of the battlefield ahead?
So, yeah, so he's just going to kind of like with his blade, he's almost going to like kind of point out at like Seklek, almost like a a challenge. Farther, I think that was 30 feet. Um, yeah, he's gonna like kind of like holding out his blade like in a challenge towards Seklik and Rosny behind him, and kind of just like readying himself. So I guess he'll take the dodge action since he can't reach them. Actually, yeah, no, he'll do that.
Gotcha. You then have the option for Zeros, and then on some level, Eku will just kind of assume you are leaving there until you tell me that you would like to do otherwise with her. But yeah,
Yeah, so I think Zeros is going to move in. Are these pillars? Are they like floor to ceiling, or anything that he might be able to get cover behind?
yes.
So he's going to kind of move in that direction. He can't get all the way behind them, but I think he is going to, um, as he moves in and seeing a couple of these like lizard-like creatures, I think he's going to actually no with Jarek's instruction to focus on Seklik and knowing that's the plan. I think he is going to start things off and just kind of throwing at his hands, launch a pair of Eldritch blasts at Seklik.
Roll a d4 for the second. All right. As you as Zeros reaches out his hand to release these blasts, the first one is going to sink squarely into Seklik's chest, and you'll see as like his chest kind of reflects from the pressure of this blast. You can kind of see he's almost like pushed back into his rear foot, kind of bracing himself against this pressure. The second blast is going to just kind of be like reflected off of his scales, maybe off to the side kind of thing, where you can see that the force just glances off of him, being kind of a failure of a strike. But the first will strike him, albeit for very little damage.
Yeah, and just to I just want to double check. Like the sidekicks, they don't have any special abilities, right?
I thought Zeros had a special ability, but his may be a little bit different. If you give me a second, I can bring up the book. Sure.
Because I know, like, I think Dorian had like some like ability he could use a couple times. Wasn't sure if he had like anything with his Eldritch Blast or.
I thought he did. But again, yeah, just give me a second and I'm looking it up now. Something about the new install of Linux didn't like all of my bookmarks. It like threw them all away. So maybe under allies? No. Remember where the followers are. There we go. Followers. What was he? The alienist?
Yeah, that sounds right because he was a great old one. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got detect thoughts as a third level spell that he can cast 3 times a day, And then black tentacles, which I think is Hadar's.
Yeah, Hadar's black tentacles. Yeah, I think that sounds familiar.
Evard's tentacle.
Oh yes, Hadar's hunger or something.
Yeah. So that is conjuration, 90-foot range, one action cast time. It's concentration for a minute. It's a 20-foot square on the ground that he can raise up the tentacles from. When the creature enters the tentacles for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there, the creature must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take 3d6 bludgeoning and be restrained. Um, yeah. If it starts its turn there, it just takes the damage, is basically what it continues to. And he's got that 3 times a day as well.
Gotcha. Wondering, feel like he might try and do that first. Although that would prevent doesn't yeah, no, he'll just go with the Eldritch Blast to start.
Gotcha. You've got 2 shots there. Who would you like to unleash them on?
Oh, so he'll keep the ones that he launched against Seklik for that turn.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I got distracted. You already shot them.
Yeah, because the black tentacles, it doesn't distinguish between friendly and unfriendly. Yeah, but good to know that he's got that in his back pocket. And yeah, I think yeah, Eku is just yeah, she's going to be hanging out back here for now.
Yeah. I've got those at least now in his character sheets. It's definitely just like thrown in there real quick, but at least it kind of notes um, that he's got those abilities.
Oh, okay, yep, I see him.
So yeah, you go through Eku. This is one of your allies. You're going to hear as she's kind of slithering into the hall behind you. Your masters will harm me. Gaze into their eyes and share your gift of stone. And you're going to see as one of these creatures is going to turn, and it is going to start to basically like turn on the master who's kind of holding its chain from behind. Uh, I think the next one is actually that very same master. You're going to see as the humanoid starts to look away from the creature, and she is going to strike out at it with her weapon. You won't quite understand what she is yelling. This is going to be far more in her native tongue as she's trying to lash out at this creature. Her first attack is going to. That's like right where it matters. Going to hit the creature. She's almost like fumbling into these attacks. You can tell she's doing everything she can to look away from this creature. And her second attack is also going to connect as she stabs at or slashes at it with her scimitar, uh, dealing 11 to it. And then Seklik is going to look over towards Zeros and then towards you, and he's going to say, "You're welcome to have a challenge to the death. But if your friends decide to tarnish this, you will all die the same fate at the feet of Ras Nsi." And he is going to charge into you with his sword drawn and make 3 attacks at you. You are dodging, so these are at disadvantage. He carries a massive sword that is almost as large as he is, probably like a 4 or so foot long blade. And he's going to bring the first attack down. Um, that is an 18 to hit with disadvantage. His second strike is going to be an 11 to hit. I think that one might miss. And his last is also going to hit.
Yep. So 2 hits. Yep.
And he is going to deal 25 and then 19 damage to you.
That hurt.
I think a solid sign that you do not want to fight Seklik solo. That is his turn, though. And it's gonna go to. I think she's going to round this corner. I think she's going to try the same thing. She is going to basically start to it's the same like guttural like intonation of these whispers towards these lizards on the ground, trying to turn this one on its master as well. And she's going to bring out the sword, and this one too is going to kind of start to turn on its master as she calls out to it. And I think that'll take us to one of our ones in combat. Uh, So this is kind of one of those things. There's definitely a certain amount of gray area because this is all happening at the same time. If by some chance Jarek ends up wanting to maintain this combat as like a solo duel, you'll basically have to try to make that effort on your turn here. As again, everything's kind of happening at the same time here. But this creature is going to rush in to your aid, striking out twice at Seklik and then trying to bite into Seklik. Let's see. His first attack will hit, second attack will miss, and you're going to see as the bite strikes in, finding a weak point on like the can't think what the neck armor is, but like you can.
It's not
Oh
like
wait,
a.
he's not armored. He's wearing.
But
He's actual scale.
that'd be like the gorget or gorget. Is that the part that like
That
kind of comes
sounds
down?
right. It's basically just like on like actual plate mail. It's just like a soft piece of armor. Or it's a piece of armor that almost is like freely sat on it, like hung by like leather straps, kind of thing, to kind of protect your throat from like splintering attacks. But he's going to rush forward. I think Seklik, like all of these, are immune to their own poison, but he's still going to deal. I think that's 9, and then 5 more.
I guess it's gorget. It's French.
That makes sense. Ba-ba-ba-ba. And that's going to take us to the second of these creatures. He's going to rush in. He's a little further behind. I think he's just going to drop 2 arrows, attempting to place them in the back of Seklet. Um, yeah, both of those are going to miss. Oh, wait a second. Other guy is the one with Bless. What was his attack that missed? I think the 9 is a 14. So if he gets a 4 here, that, yep. So his actual second sword strike is a hit. For 6 more. Pretty similar situation where you're basically going to have the next pure blood is kind of distracted by its lizard. Same thing, attempting to divert its eyes. I'm not sure if you know what these creatures are, but for my simplicity, I'm about to name them as basilisks. I was trying to give you that clue with the actual command from the Yuan-Ti themselves knowing what they are. But they're going to strike out at disadvantage, trying to hit the basilisk and fail with the first, and the second is going to fail as well.
Yeah, once you said gaze of stone, yeah, I'm pretty sure I knew what they were. I don't know if Jarek knows, but yeah, wasn't a big shock to me as a player. Run
Yeah,
into
it's
it a couple
enough of a
times
warning
before.
that once these creatures look at you, or if they look at you, you now know you need to not stare at these things. You guys have come across enough times where you've seen things petrified that, especially this adventuring group, petrification has. You guys have seen, I think, 4 different creatures now that have done this effect of petrifying stuff. None of them have been the same. So it's definitely one of those real world issues that shit gets petrified.
So that's where there's so many statues and yeah. Yeah, it was like the hanging gardens was one. There's like those birds, and then yeah. And I mean Jarek for his part, I mean his sole focus here is on Seklek for now because
Think the last one is going to charge in, and as it looks to the room, is going to call out to Ras Nsi. Your throne has fallen. Your life is forfeit. Flee now while your chance remains. Um, and yeah, he's not even going to flinch as this kind of happens. We're going to go to the lizards, each of them attacking their respective master. Uh, so first one on the right, second one on the left. 5. I think the second one's going to hit. Um, they're immune to poison, I believe. So doing 10. So you'll see that one as it like turns on its master. It's just going to kind of leap towards it and like biting on the arm that holds the chain. That's going to take us to Ras Nsi. Looking over the situation, You're simply going to hear from him. I think kind of cursing you all at present. You've made a poor choice with your allies. Phantasia will fail this coup of hers. It was a poor time for you to choose such friends. Um, and I think he's going to. Yeah, I think at present he's simply just going to continue to kind of sit there, and he is basically monologuing, like as this battle is going to go forward, and it's going to go to you. What would Jarek like to do?
Yeah, so Jarek kind of taken aback at how hard this thing's hit, how hard this thing hits. He's got no intention of fighting a one-on-one duel. He's not that honorable. Um, kind of maneuvering himself. Uh, I think he's gonna first thing kind of gathering himself, kind of getting a second wind a bit,
I almost marked Zeros as your ally.
and stabbing out at Seklik, again with the arming sword version of the blade.
So the first one will hit with your bless. 18 is indeed his AC, so pretty much regardless of what you roll there, that one ends up being a hit. You bonus action with second wind, so no short sword. So two piercing attacks into him for 19 damage.
And I think he's going to go ahead and action surge now. Actually, he's going to make one of those a distracting strike as well. Of course.
Oh, that sucks ass.
Yeah, and then action surge and two more stabs at it.
Yeah, so all four of those strikes are going to find the weak points in his flesh. Um, you certainly feel extra resistance to his scales, like giving you this idea that he is a stronger and tougher enemy than the other snake Yuan-Ti that you've battled so far. None of it should be terribly surprising as you kind of recognize this. But again, I think with that kind of like melee there, you have at least the understanding effectively, like whatever it is, like in world, this guy's AC is 18. He is a difficult foe to strike out at. But another 20 damage to that is going to put him. Yeah, he is still. I mean, he's got wounds. You've stabbed into his flesh. Nothing has yet gone to the point where you've been able to like grab into his organs. Kind of things like you've stabbed into like peripheral areas and like towards his waist. Nothing that's like showing you signs of like arterial bleeds or anything yet. Any interest in doing anything? Oh wait, my bad. Zeros.
Yeah, so Zeros is gonna move kind of as he reaches like kind of behind this first pillar and go. He's gonna launch two Eldritch Blasts into Seklik.
Gotcha. First one is at this or at advantage, and then the second strike.
Even with
Um,
Bless, that can't hit. So,
yeah, bless will miss still.
and then he's gonna continue moving just behind the pillar, essentially.
Any desire to act with Eku?
Um, does she have sanctuary? Is that the spell?
She does indeed.
So I'm thinking. I mean, because she can see. I mean, Jarek took two hard hits, so I think she might. If I don't know what the range on that is, but if she can get in range with Jarek, I think she'll try and cast sanctuary on him.
Yeah, 30 feet. I think she'll have to close the distance some, but she can certainly do that.
Because that makes it like what a wisdom saving throw if you want to attack the sanctuary person. I think right.
Yeah.
Because I think I mean Jarek has no intention of backing down, but I would think she's thinking like she can even just give him like a couple seconds of respite to get back and because this thing could drop him with
Uh,
another couple of those blows.
you've seen at least like his prowess that it is an extremely strong um opponent. Like again, I don't want to tell you a +9 to hit, but at the same time, like you can't help but see how strong in melee something is when it has that ability. She also has the ability to shield you, which if it has basically a +45% chance to hit, shield is +10% chance to miss. Do you have any interest in? I think Sanctuary is going to drop the moment you attack, versus
Yeah.
Shield will be something that you have +2 AC through this battle.
Oh yeah, and bless is concentration too, right? She couldn't
Yep.
cast
Bless is
sanctuary
going to
anyway.
fall when she does this. All three of those are concentration spells.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think shield makes more sense.
Actually, wait a second. I don't think Shield actually is concentration. Oh, my bad. This is the actual. This is the wizard shield spell. That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking she had the cleric spell.
Oh, armor of faith, is that the one?
That sounds about right. Oh wow. I don't know why I was thinking. Yeah, so I mean, I guess at very least, Sanctuary gives you a turn where it's more likely to at least attack the other UNT.
Yeah, that was my initial thought.
So yeah, with that, the bless will drop. But you will gain Sanctuary. What's a good Sanctuary picture? I feel like there should be like a tower or something. How about that? That's so tiny, it's hard to see. But yeah, she will cast that. Uh, that's her move. That's her action. Gonna go to a Malison. I think kind of just doing a similar move to what Zeros is doing. Maybe even as she's pushing forward, kind of instructing Zeros to like um, make for the water's cavern, like to basically try to get actually ping a spot. Yeah, she's basically going to try to get Zeros, like she's pointing off to this area to like try to hold that position, to keep moving basically. And as she kind of says this, you'll hear as she starts to intone this like deep guttural sound, and shooting off two of these blasts towards Seklik. She is going to try to Eldritch Blast him. Both of those should hit, and it's gonna do 6 more. Eldritch Blast is like so sweet and so shitty.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get it's a couple of those Eldritch invocations, make it a little bit better.
Yeah. You've got to have that invocation that gives you the plus, like your charisma modifier. It is rough to make attacks that don't have your primary modifier.
Yeah, agonizing blast or something. Yeah.
So this is gonna go back up to the pure blood in the northeast. Two disadvantage attacks at the basilisk. I think the first one's gonna miss. Yeah, the second one's going to hit. For 5. And then it's gonna go to Seklik. So I think he's simply going to say in common, a fair fight would have been disappointing. And he's going to, what's he got? I think he's got a solid 8 targets right now. He's going to go for 1, 2, the one to the left of him. You're just going to see as he's going to make. Let's see about this. Yeah, this is effectively a D3. 5 and a 6 or 3 attacks on it, basically, to see how he like slots that. Yeah, he's just going to mash into that creature with 3 of his attacks. Plus 9. All of these are probably going to hit. Yeah, the 14 I think is its AC. 12 is its AC. All of those are going to hit. This is going to decimate that creature as it is 10, 21, 39 plus 5, 15, 39, 49, 54. Severely bleeding. You can gather that that guy is just outside of mortally wounded right now. There's massive, like, chunks cut into his flesh from these strikes from the great sword, where you can see like any given strike from the great sword is down through the meat, and it might have cut into spine, but at very least it was stopped by the actual spine. uh, these are definitely horrific wounds that Jarek would know quite well. That Seklik is a vicious opponent. uh, and then one of the next Malisons, she's going to close in a similar way, dropping 2 Eldritch Blasts. First one's going to miss Seklik, second one will hit for 5 more. The next 2 of the kind of melee Malisons are going to strike out into Seklik with it. 4 sword attacks and then 2 bites. Um, wow, that's horrendous rolling. One of the bites is good enough to sink into Seklik. It's gonna deal 5 damage to him. I think it's a +3. Yeah, 5 damage. I think actually Seklik is going to be bloodied by the last Eldritch Blast. I haven't actually moved that Malison yet, but he is in the bloodied condition at this point here. Pure Blood in the northwest, striking out at the Basilisk, trying to attack her. First one's going to miss. Second one is a hit for 3 damage. Very weird spell, but it is powerful. And it's going to go to the next Malison as she's moving in. She's going to drop Eldritch Blast into Seklik. Neither of those are going to strike true. And she'll move about there. Two basilisks trying to bite into their respective handlers. I think each of those is going to be successful. 13 and 8. Ras Nsi is going to stand at this point, and you'll see at least a little bit of a stutter in kind of his monologue as he sees Eku kind of come across the side and start to weave the sanctuary around you. And he is going to look to her, and as he points out his right hand, and you can see like the rags like of this like bloodied bandage kind of hanging from his arm, he is going to start to incant a spell, and as he releases it, you are going to see uh yeah, I don't think there's actual visual effect of this. Let me have you roll a d20. I need to look up what the save is, and I'll tell you what Eku's modifier is. It's not going
Uh,
to matter. Eku
yep.
is about to turn into a tiny little snake. Eku is not going to change into a tiny little snake. You're going to see a look of confusion on Rosni's face as he looks to her, and he's going to continue almost without a step at this point as the curiosity. What is your true form? And he is going to start to close the ground to Echo. And as he does so, his sword is going to spark into flame. And that'll go to Jarek.
Yeah, so as kind of Rusty starts, Jarek's going to be like shouting like "Eku back," uh, but otherwise is kind of see look of concern on his face as Rosny closes in on her, but so he shouts that and he continues just stabbing out at Seklik. I'm going to go ahead and make that another distracting strike.
Gotcha. So 13 on that one. Roll a d4 for that second attack. Oh, wait, no, my bad. You are
Blesses,
not
yeah.
blessed.
And then short sword.
Now, this is where I'm going to play the rule on the fly. Let me see a damage from that second strike. You guys have three people on all sides of Seklik. This is where I'll give you flanking on that guy. So 12, 13 from the first, 22 after the second, 32 with the short sword.
Yeah, and Jarek is he's just going all out at this point. Um, Zeros is heating, with the Yanti say that's kind of his idea, so he's gonna move kind of as he's like emerging from the pillar and heading for the caverns. He's gonna turn back and loose a couple eldritch blasts at Seklik.
So both of those will have solid purchase into Seklik for 8 damage.
Yep, and he's just gonna keep moving, kind of into the kind of this more cave-like area.
All right, I don't want to take command of Eku away from you. As far as I'm concerned, I feel like Eku is still a greater good person. Your primary mission is killing Seklik. I think Eku would still sanctuary you and take her normal form while she looks down the sword of Ras Nsi. But you can have a final decision what you would like Eku to do here.
Yeah, no, I think Eku. No, I think that makes sense. I mean, she's her whole life is about kind of protecting others, and yeah, I think that makes sense.
So she will once again cast Sanctuary on you, and then she is going to release her form as you see her turn into this large. Uh, Effectively, this is like kind of like a wyvern style of form where she is like a large snake with these crazy little like arms and her little like wings that almost come out of her head um little it's like the perfect example of like the Chinese dragons, I feel like. But Eku will rise in her full form. I feel like if we had Zaps, this would be the first time that he actually sees her form. At very least for the rest of the party, it has been some time. I think Eku has not taken this form since she like regressed. That was more or less what I was at least attempting. That kind of like clearing her memory kind of changed things.
Yeah, and before that, I think it wasn't since we were on the river when she did it to save somebody from, I think, the that giant crocodile.
So that's gonna take us to the Malisan. This one is going to kind of make for that southeastern corner, releasing two Eldritch Blasts towards Seklik. One of the pure bloods in the northeast, disadvantage against the basilisk that is still attacking it. 12 is a miss. Oh man, and another miss. And then this is for Seklik. I think Seklik more properly has. I think he can probably make the other two. Let me see real quick. Yeah, I think he's still at 8 targets. So, what is it? The most recent one. He is going to break from combat here. Oh, wait a second. When you gave advantage to, um, you would have critted because you gave advantage on that first Eldritch Blast. So
Oh
four more
yeah,
damage.
forgot about that. Yeah, good call.
I mean, they take little bits of time. It kind of sucks at times to modify all those things, but that's why I do like to use those things because looking at him like, oh, he's got the advantage little toggle on him. Oh yeah, that follows Jarek. That should have been Zeros. But he is going to run down for uh, the Malison in the southeastern corner. I think for what it is worth, I am going to have him make one attack before he leaves this combat at the guy he almost killed last turn. He is going to try to finish him, and then he is going to break from the combat and try to make his attack on the other Malison. So the first attack is on that snake. You can make a attack, and then if I can have you roll an attack for the Malison to the north of him, and then his second two attacks are going to be on the one in the southeast.
Gotcha. Jarek will miss.
And then it's a +5 on that other one. Roll a d6 for me. So that's going to be +3, so 7 from him. And then you said Jarek missed.
Yeah, yeah, and he wouldn't have advantage anymore because or flanking anymore because that thing's dead, and he would have missed with the.
So he is going to kind of like, I like the idea that he kind of like swirls out with his blade, kind of striking at all of you. All of his momentum is going to be kind of lost as he cuts through the Malison who's already bloodied. It's enough to deflect away your attack and kind of protect him as he's breaking this combat, but the other Malison, almost predicting, knowing Seklik's kind of fighting style, is able to slide his blade into the flesh of this creature. He is then going to close the ground on the priest in the southeastern corner. He is going to crit against. Oh shit! He does so much less damage once he's bloodied. I forgot about that. He actually does, with the first strike, 17 plus 5, so 22. And then his second strike is a hit as well for another 13, so 37. I am not going to try to go back and correct his damage, but he does like 2d6 plus 5, but he does an extra 2d6 when he is above half health.
Oh,
That's
so like
part of
the
why.
gosh, it's like the opposite of that. Like, because I know some creatures, the opposite, they get more dangerous when they like a blood frenzy kind of thing.
Yeah, he's kind of like a almost like a oh, when there's a bunch of tiny creatures, like a base of creatures. I can't think of what it is. Swarm.
Oh, the
He's
swarms,
almost
yeah.
like a swarm. So when he is more than half, he does like this extra damage. Or rather, swarms are that opposite effect. Swarms would do 4d6, and then when they're under half, they do half that 2d6. So he's just kind of like weirdly phrased for what it's really worth. But yeah, he's going to close the ground into that creature. She is going to be bloodied by that attack as he closes down on her. He kills the one as he steps away from that combat. It's gonna go to the next of these Malisons moving into the room. You can see she's like running across the room, and as she sees Seklik like run past her, she's going to start to move kind of like northeasterly, to almost like continue to kind of spread this. And she's going to drop two Eldritch Blasts into him. Neither of those are going to hit. That's going to go to. Let's see, Pure Blood behind you. I mean, he's going to close that ground to Seklik. I'm not going to measure it, but he can make it because you guys were in combat. Um, Two attacks and then a bite. Fuck. The bite's going to hit. The bite sucks ass when you're poison immune. For 5 more. My bad. I think actually when you guys struck into Seklik stepping out of combat, he would have gone to fatally wounded. Again, this is kind of a lot to deal with, but he's kind of getting overwhelmed. But he is mortally wounded at very least with that strike. Another one of the pure bloods striking out at the basilisk, attacking her. She's going to miss. Another of these Malisons, she's kind of going to hold that corner, dropping two Eldritch Blasts towards Seklik, both missing. And it's going to return to the basilisks attacking their masters. Oh shit, they have advantage because the person's blind to them because they're diverting their eyes. I fucking forgot about that. Both of those are going to hit. I think the basilisks do 2d6 damage. 3.
I mean, I think they've
So
been mostly hitting anyway, so.
yeah, I think I missed the first round of combat though, as part of what I was thinking. Those were very convenient suggestions, the way that played out. I wanted to have more creatures in this room than simply Seklik and Ras Nsi, because I gave you so many allies. It was like you're just going to overwhelm them with action economy, and it's going to disarm this fight. I thought that also before I saw that Seklik does 46 damage. But that's gonna bring it back to Ras Nsi. With the flame sword, he is going to slash. I think he's going to slash out um at Echo 3 times with the flame tongue sword. So I gotta look at Eku's AC real quick. I think she's stupid high AC, 19. So 13 or above. He's going to smash into her once with the sword, and he's going to deal 14 damage to. And that's going to take us back to Jarek.
Yeah, Garrick is like, Eku, hang on, and he's rushing to try to finish off Seklik, chasing after him. And for what it's worth, all his attacks would be at this thing. He would just be keep stabbing 3 times.
Oh yeah, he's definitely dying on the crit. Uh, Describe to me how you cut this half snake, half human into pieces, or
Yeah,
rather,
I
how
think
you
he.
kill him.
Yeah, I think yeah, he's gonna like, as he's like coming up and he's stabbing into this thing, he's like kind of remembering what it had kind of taunted him with before, is like, I don't need a fair fight as long as you die. And he's gonna almost kind of like yeah, stab once, almost like through, like, kind of a little below its is a little like kind of not its like neck, but like below the head area. And then almost like as it's turning, as he's speaking to it, he takes his blade again and just like quickly, like almost like stabs it straight through like the eye, one of his eyes, into its brain. And you just like, yeah.
Gotcha. So like one's piercing through the throat, and then as you're going for that like final moment, as it like looks towards you, you're just like slowly sliding it directly through its skull, like via an eye socket.
Yeah, like it's like it can't move, and it just like sees it like coming in, and just like, yeah, like very deliberately, just like, yeah.
Yeah, so like almost sliding butter from your knife, you kind of use your short sword then to like follow up and just start to slide this skull off your blade. Do you have any other movement that you can turn and like start to approach anything else, or does that end your movement as well?
Took all of his movement to reach Seklik again.
Gotcha. So Zeros is going to see quite quickly here. Seklik basically impaled and killed here. You've got the Yuan-Ti who are battling the basilisks. Each of them are bloodied as he looks over that situation, and Zeros can also clearly see that Eku is in her natural form, weathering the attacks of Ras Nsi. What would Zeros like to do?
Yeah, so now is when Zeros is going to unleash, as Seklik falls. Now is when he's going to unleash, kind of saying like a chant. I think he knows Infernal. Like had him like, um, but essentially like, yeah, speaking like very similarly discordant, not the same as the ONT, but kind of a discordant language. He kind of throws his hands out, and you'll see these tentacles, and essentially is going to. I think he's going to aim it to hit. Almost like grasping Rosny from behind, like from in terms like closer to, yeah, like that.
Yeah, so like on some level, like the basilisks are currently fighting for you. They're definitely not necessarily friendly though. So I feel like that is the perfect place where you could cast it because it includes Ras Nsi, but does not include Eku, and you can also grab the other ones into it. Again, this is something where you can't really move it, so there might be some value if you wanted to place it where Rosny's like in the heart of it and he can't move anywhere to get away from it. But, again, it's up to you, but on some level, I feel like there's certainly grounds to say that might be the ideal.
That's where I was thinking. Yeah, basically, even if they can try to like trap Rosny in there in that corner, or give Eku potentially a chance to get out, but yeah, that's where I was
So
thinking of
I
hit.
believe that's based off your. Well, technically, none of it actually happens right now. But I believe that's based off of your spell DC. Um, I don't think I've told you what his is. I'm not sure. Um, what is it? It is proficiency bonus. It should be your spell attack +8, I think, is how you calculate spell DC. So his spell attack, I think, right now is a +6. So I think his save DC is 14.
Yep, that sounds right.
And from there, it's going to go to Eku. So you're back to the point where she's not actually concentrating on anything. She dropped those um, two sanctuaries. She's not especially wounded. That's still a fraction of her life that she's taken right now. But do you have any thoughts as to what she would be doing here?
Um, I feel like she's probably still wants to. She wants to defend herself, but I'm not sure she'd actually be attacking it, especially if Ra is seeing the tentacles and thinking maybe it's going to be restrained. I almost feel like she's going to, I don't know, maybe dodge, or
Gotcha.
maybe.
Yeah, she could certainly take the dodge action, and she could step away from combat as well. Um, she can also kind of constrict him and try to restrain him in the exact same way that the tentacles would restrain him, but at least have. I don't think that would necessarily make too much difference, but that's an option. But I feel like the dodge is a solid choice here.
Yeah, and I think maybe she'll dodge and she'll try to essentially kind of fly out of his reach, his immediate reach.
Gotcha. So he will use his reaction to strike out at her. Um, 14. That'll miss. So she can take the dodge action. Where would you like her to move? I think you guys already know, like on some level, this is almost like one of the safest places to move because at some point you guys do know to expect a fireball kind of thing.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, she would be kind of returning back that way. Yep. So, yep.
Gotcha. So that would be her full move if she wanted to go to there. It's gonna go to the Malison in the south. I think she's just going to kind of break a little bit towards here, slinging two of the bolts towards Rosny. His AC is much lower, but is still going to miss as the bolts just kind of slam past him. Let's see. This is the little brood fighting the basilisk in the northeast with a miss, and then another miss. Uh, Malison to the north of you, two Eldritch Blasts towards Ras Nsi. One of those is going to hit for 4. Uh, do, 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 do. I think you'll see this one kind of watching you, the like more melee oriented one next to you, kind of watching you slay Sekluk. It'll kind of almost in not a catty tone, but I feel like that's kind of like the attitude almost, where it's almost like laughing at the danger of this all. You'll hear basically like as you're sliding Sekluk's skull off of your blade, so it begins. And it's going to turn I think this is one of those things where sadly it can't even like switch to its bow. It's going to dash into Ras Nsi, I think. Oh, it can make it to him in the move. It's going to close the ground on Ras Nsi. 2 attacks at him. Neither of those are going to be successful, and then a bite also is kind of deflected. That's going to take us to. Okay, so this one is starting inside of the Arms of Hadar. So you can roll 3d6 here, or Ever's Black Tentacles, and then to see if it is restrained. I think it's a dexterity save, and I think it's good.
Yes.
But 15.
Oh, wait. No, actually, it doesn't take any damage. It's only if it's already restrained. It doesn't. If it saves, it doesn't take any damage and is not restrained. When a creature enters the affected area for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there, the
Oh,
creature
that's
does occasionally.
crazy. A save or suck spell.
I mean, it lasts for a minute, so.
Yeah.
And once it's restrained, then it becomes much more powerful because it's like automatic damage until.
Yeah, I think she's just going to move around, end up taking the dash action. I think it makes sense for this one actually to take the dodge action in this round. And then this is the Malison in the southwest. 2 Eldritch Blasts. Oh shit! Into Ras Nsi for 30. Oh.
Damn.
You see that though? Double crit.
Yep.
All right. I don't think a basilisk is intelligent enough to leave that thing, but it does have to make the save. It's going to be fine, so no need to roll the 3d6, but it's just going to try to close the distance. It's a straight attack. She is diverting her eyes from it, so it has disadvantage because she's dodging. It's going to go for a bite. It will be successful, doing another 12. That's going to leave her mortally wounded. Then the next basilisk attacking its master the same way. Is going to hit. And this one will do 8 more. And that will take us to Ras Nsi. Um, I think in this moment is going to be where there is a point of fire that is going to spark up right between Zeros and uh, and Jarek, and we are going to have an explosion of fire. I believe that's going to grab two Malisons and the two of your characters here. Let me drop that real quick.
And does he need to make the save for the tentacles?
Oh yeah, my bad. He will have the same.
Yep, he's good.
Yeah, he's golden. Yeah. So as that explodes, the two Malisons, so the north, south, and then the two of you, if you could make a dexterity saving throw for both of yours. Feel like Zeros actually has dexterity saving throws as a proficiency, though.
Nope, he's wisdom and charisma. So they'll
Okay,
both
gotcha.
fail.
So both fail. It is 8d6. So 27 damage to those who failed, which are three of you. The one on the north will take 13. I think 64 is going to leave that creature just alive. Yep.
And then just let me know how many throws for Zero, or is he?
Oh, yeah, my bad. With Zeros, what is that? 27 is going to be the DC, which I don't think without Con as a proficiency he will fail. So I think it's just going to be a failed wound. He'll lose one wound.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think that's going to take it back to Jarek.
Yeah, so Jarek is barely standing. He's looking very close to death after that fireball. But he is going to heedless rush towards Rosny. Cannot reach him. Yeah, I think he's going to actually. As he's running, he's going to drop a short sword and draw one of his daggers and launch it at it just so he can get an attack in as he's running.
Yeah, I think the alternate is potentially also dodging on your way there, but that's purely up to you. Are you like basically going into a rage kind of thing, or are you trying to actually um, I feel like the dodge action is if you're intelligent enough. Trying to think of your stats offhand.
I mean, he's not
You've
too
got a
smart, but he
negative
is.
one intel.
I mean, he is a dual wielder, so he. Yeah. Yeah. No, it does make more sense that he would, because he's used to fighting with two weapons. Probably doesn't even, he's probably not smart enough to realize he can't reach him. So yeah, he will. But kind of as he's running and realizing he's not going to get there, he will. Yeah, he'll take the dodge action, but he is going to rush as close as he can. So
Gotcha. Oh,
uh,
Evard's concentration. Can you make a concentration check or a concentration save with Zeros? 27 damage, so the DC is 13 here. Excellent. So you hold the concentration.
um, and then yeah, Zeros is going to, I think, kind of backing away a bit. He's going to launch a couple Eldritch Blasts as he's moving at Rosny. Sheesh. 13 is the first one, and the 8 will miss.
Yeah, 13's still a miss on him. And then the 8's definitely a miss. Um, so Eku is one of those things where she could heal Jarek, which might not actually help anything. And also, I don't actually think she can get to you this turn. No, she's got stupid fast flying speed now that she's in this form. So she can indeed get to you to heal you here. Or she could drop another like sanctuary on you. Or she could have kind of used up all her blesses, but I would say she could bless you guys again if you wanted bless. What kind of thoughts do you have on what you would like Eku to do?
Yeah, I think just healing Jarek is not all that helpful. Sanctuary, I mean, if he drops another fireball, that won't help. But I think, given the options, that's what she will. I
Well,
think
that's
that's what
where the
she'll.
bless kind of comes in. Bless would help you against fireball.
Yeah, but even if he fails where he is now, or even if it succeeds, it would kill it, or it would knock him out.
Gotcha.
So I think I think she'll do sanctuary just in case he goes back to the blade. Um, yeah, that's what she'll do.
Gotcha. She has 90 fly speed. Do you want her placed somewhere else in this area?
I feel like even with 90, she'd just be putting herself more in. I don't really think right now there's any reason for her to come flying in. So I think I'll have her stay. I mean, she'll get as close as she needs to cast Sanctuary, but other than that, I think she'll stay back.
Yeah, I think she just has to move there to drop Sanctuary on you as far as things go. Alrighty, so into the allies. Couple of Eldritch Blasts from this one into Rosny. 14 misses. Um, Northeast one fighting the Basilisk, disadvantage. 11 misses. This is the one kind of just north of Zeros, dropping two Eldritch Blasts towards Rosny. One of those will. Oh, wait, what's the 12? Is the second one? Yeah. One of those will hit for 2. And then the one in melee just ahead of you. 2 sword attacks, both will hit, and then the bite will miss. And that's going to be for 6 and 7 is 13. And then, okay, this is the one. It is running from that basilisk still, mortally wounded. I think it's going to. So, kind of a cowardly choice. Um, she's not gonna flee before Rosny though. So cowardly choice here. I feel like she's going to. think she's just going to strike at the basilisk that she's running from. She like doesn't even see the rest of the combat here. A 15 will hit, and her second attack is going to miss with a 13, I think. Yeah. So the first attack is for 6.
And,
The last. What were you thinking there?
and that first one hits even with disadvantage, right? She's not looking at
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. It was the 18 and the 12.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see. That's the Malison to the south. Both of those Eldritch Blasts are going to hit Ras Nsi for 15 more. It's like the MVP of the NPCs in the battle.
Yeah.
She's done. Ras Nsi has 58 points of damage, and I think she's done 48 of it.
Yeah,
Or
we did
49
30
of
with
it.
those two crits. Yeah, yeah.
These are back to the basilisk. So the first one that's like on top of its thing already, the crit, she's got 12 hit points left. I don't think she can survive this. Yeah, that'll kill her in the northeast. The one that is in the Everard's Black Tentacles is going to fail. So it is restrained. This will give it disadvantage. It still has advantage because she's diverting its eyes, so just a straight attack on her will hit. What is that for? 7. And then you roll the 8 damage there.
Yep, 8 damage to the basilisk.
And it is restrained. Is it also okay? Yeah, just restrained. That's back to Ras Nsi. What do we do with a caster? Alrighty. Ras Nsi has a spell in his bank that I don't think he wouldn't not use. So I am going to see who he is casting on here, what kind of threat level he's thinking of you. Because I know there's at least the smallest chance that he is going to try to kill Jarek outright here.
So yeah,
What's he got? 3, 6, 7 general threats. You are going to be whatever your number is 1 and then 8 here. Either of those, he is going to cast a spell on you. I need you to make a Constitution saving throw, please. You are going to be wrapped in these like purplish black tentacles, and as they start to writhe around you, they're just going to sprout snake heads that start to bite into your flesh and start to sink into you. You are going to take half of 38 damage. Half is going to knock you unconscious regardless. Oh, wait a second. He's targeting you. You have Sanctuary. You need a wisdom save on that first. He's good. Yeah, so he's going to knock you unconscious with that attack there. At very least, that'll end his turn with the spell. Effectively, this is blight. This is like those snakes, every single bite starts to like rot your flesh. So you're like rotting away while you're standing up before your body just falls like unconscious to the ground here. We are going to start this turn with a death saving throw from you, sir. Roll a 20. Close, but you are good. It is going to go to Zeros. Ras Nsi started in your. His wisdom is 4. He's going to be. Oh wait, no, it's not wisdom on that. It's dexterity. Dexterity's 3. DC is 14. I think we said he is good. I think with that, I'm actually going to also have him step out of the black tentacles. But yeah, that'll go back to then Zeros. You can leave that spell up if you would like. Right now, you only have the basilisk in it, but you also have now seen Jarek fall. So, what would Zeros like to do here?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll leave the spell up for now. He doesn't really have any. He doesn't have anything else to anything to replace it with. Um, the only thing he could do would be to try to no, because if he moves it, it's going. There's no way he can really get it so that it doesn't capture. Yeah, I think he's just going to.
I think that's your alternative if you were to cast it again, um, or potentially do something that is dangerous for your allies and put him deeper into it like that. That includes one of the Malisons.
Yeah. I mean, the basilisk is already restrained now, and it's his odds of being able to restrain Rosny, I think, are not great. I think he's just going to leave it where it is and launch a couple Eldritch blasts at Rosny.
Excellent.
One should hit for 3.
So again, I might have lost track of when exactly Rosny would look bloodied, but he is definitely looking bloodied. I know after that strike here. Um, so again, Eku has the ability to fly 90 feet. He can easily fly past Rosny without any danger. Um, and she can cure wounds on Jarek. Unless you had any other thoughts about what you would like her to do, I feel like that is the solution.
Yeah, now that Jarek has gone down, yeah, she will. I think she'll fly over and cast Cure Wounds. Not sure how long he'll be able to stay up, but yeah.
So I believe Cure Wounds is just a D8 plus 5, so 11 hit points.
Got it.
When she flies in, I'm gonna say what she says before we actually finish her movement. But when Eku is flying in here, ooh, this might actually be telepathic. Yeah, this is telepathic to you. Because I don't know how many creatures she can telepathically connect with. So at present, it's just to Jarek for intents and purposes here. Rasni is wounded. He's going to flee to the south or to the north. Those are his escapes. And again, you've had it pointed out to you um, that he has a secret passage off there to the north, and then the teleporter to the south. Uh, would you like her to hold one of those positions?
Um, I think she will. Yeah, after healing Jarek, she'll move off to fly off a little bit farther to the north. Maybe kind of like
Basically, hold that corner, and she doesn't necessarily like block the secret tunnel, but she's at least in front of it.
yeah.
And then with that, it's going to step back to a round of, let's see, Malison in kind of the center of them. 2 Eldritch Blasts at Rosny. Both will hit. 5, 10 more. I think on this one, actually, he is going to shield that blast, and it's going to deflect both of those, actually.
Makes sense.
Yep. He's going to shield that one. So he's increasing his AC here. At very least, this shows off. This is the first he's used like defensive magic in this battle. It's definitely kind of the turning point where things are a little more clearly differentiated here. This is the Malison to the northeast, striking out at the Basilisk. Fail and another fail. Malison north of Zeros, two Eldritch Blasts. What is that? 22. Yeah, so both of those are going to hit with that attack. Oh, what was the other one, though? 14? Yeah, 19. He's got 20 AC now. So it's going to deal 4 and 11 total. You got the one kind of right in front of you at present. 2 attacks and then a bite. None of those will hit. One of them is you're going to see the actual like force wall in between him takes that attack. You still have the screaming of the pure blood behind you, who's striking out at the basilisk. This time, now that it is restrained, diverting her eye, she has a straight attack and does shitty damage. You had one chance. And then you got the Malison in the south shooting towards Ras Nsi. One of those is going to blast through the actual shield spell. First Basilisk on its target. And then the restrained Basilisk starting its turn there. It's already restrained. 3d6 damage.
13.
I kind of switched off the spell, but it doesn't make the save again, right? It has to actively try to break itself free.
It can use its action to make a dexterity or strength ability check.
Yeah, it's still working with suggestion that's telling it to attack its master. So it is still trying to attack that Malison, or that pure blood. Still at disadvantage. That's going to hit. I think this should be a killing blow for 11. Yeah, that's going to kill her. So I'll have to figure out what it does with that suggestion now that she's dead. But that will take us back to Ras Nsi. He is going to. I have never looked up Expeditious Retreat. Do you know what that does offhand?
I
I feel
believe it
like it
increases
doubles.
your movement speed. It gives like an extra so many feet per turn. I can look it up real quick.
I got it. I'm looking up too.
Or you can take the dash action, the bonus action. That's it. Yeah. When you cast a spell and then as a bonus action on each of your turns until the spell ends, you can take the dash action.
Yeah, that's not what I was hoping it would be.
Long Strider, I think, is the one that does extra movement speed. I mean, it would give him, I guess, what, 60 feet this turn?
Yeah, he's got Misty Step though, and I know that's what I'm going to finish off this turn with, but I was just trying to think if there was any other reason for other things. Do, 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 do. That's a single foe. Yeah, I think he is going to.
So if he has Misty Step, he should get 90 feet total.
Yeah. But my point was, is I was trying to figure out like if Expeditious Retreat did like multiple things, but in the long run, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that he doesn't even get to use those 2 spells. I keep thinking Misty Step is a reaction, but it's a bonus. So I think what he is going to do is I'm going to test Sanctuary, and he's going to fail. A bit. He is going to strike out with the Flame Tongue for 3 attacks into the Malison in combat with him. Do, 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 do. 11 misses. I think the 14 hits, I believe. Yeah, 11 just misses. So 2 strikes into it. He is going to deal 2d10 and 4d6, I believe. Plus 6 more. So 23 for the slashing damage, 33, 39. He is going to bloody that guy, and then he is going to misty step himself into his teleporter. I didn't leave him the action economy to use it though, because I wanted to try to kill you. He is going to end his turn there, and you can take your turn.
Yeah, I think Jarek is.
I think actually, for what it is worth here,
Oh well, Jarek
um,
can't reach him anyway because he has to get up, stand up.
I got you. Part of what I was thinking, yeah, and you got to like pick up your weapon too, but that can be your free action. I think you've got the 30. Oh yeah, because you would have 15 feet. I
Yeah.
think what we're going to do here is perhaps what we'll call it as is like this will be because you're top of the initiative order. We'll start on this turn with you being down. I'll mark that real quick. And we'll actually pick up here basically with the idea. We'll say Taryn is basically coming, and he has Quinn, but this is effectively the moment where Rosny is about to teleport into his chamber, and I'll leave it to you guys to make the choice. Are you going to try to push in to attempt to kill Rosny, or are you all basically going to leave him to Fenthaza's bloodline? Um, because sadly, again, Sundays is the one day that I can't actually go like late in a session, and it's 7 o'clock right now.
Oh yeah, no problem. And yeah, this way at least Taryn gets to, or yeah, and Chris like gets some involvement and a decision to see kind of what we do. So no, that this is a good place to stop, I think.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, man. I didn't want to like leave Rosny. Um, I feel like the two of them, they're high CR creatures. The champion obviously is super high CR creature. I feel like how that played out, that actually balanced quite well. This is how I like combats to be. You went down. There's definitely points where you could have died. I think everybody played intelligently. Like there weren't points where I feel like I was attempting not to kill you. Um, like I feel like that played as a good combat. I hope you enjoyed that, but I was definitely worried trying to throw you into this. I was going to say at some point it was like if I kill you, this is going to be like one of those practice sessions where we're like, and in another universe, back where Jarek and Tara don't split up.
No, yeah, no, I had a lot of fun, and I thought, I mean, I think it would have been the kind of like death that would have been, I could live with that, right? Like Jared, this is Jarek, like yes, and maybe he would have died because he wouldn't take that fire protection because he wouldn't sacrifice a human, but that fits in very well, I feel, with like his mindset. And yeah, in terms of like the balance, I think you're right. Like it was definitely it could have gone either way, which is how you want it. It wasn't like,
Like
we were
those two
definitely.
suggestions, the suggestions on the basilisks, I feel like that was one of those things. Like suggestion is such a low powered spell, but to get that to work on those creatures, that was fucking awesome. It was hilarious. I thought it would have been amazing if a suggestion sent Rosny running right off the bat, and you guys basically just had Seklik and these two pure bloods in this chamber, and you like already succeeded at your mission was to get Rosny to flee this teleporter.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. So thanks for putting this together. Chris will
Yeah,
have a
I
lot to
mean that
catch up with next week.
right. I mean, I feel like that's how everything more or less works out. Like the way it's designed in the book, you guys are supposed to like collect all of the puzzle pieces, and it's one of those fiat things that Ras Nsi comes in and he steals the ninth. But because of how things played out, you guys chose to ally yourselves because of how it played out. Like that, a random encounter knocked out the party. I think a viable way to avoid a TPPK is always to put you in a shitty position where you have to like basically ally yourself with your enemy or kind of die. That was it's amazing how those little choices play out, so we don't have to like fiat steal the last one. You guys actually gave them up as a teammate. um so normally when you guys come in here, you're supposed to be looking for that ninth cube, and you're like, all right, we have to turn ourselves in because there's an overwhelming number of yuan t here. And Fantasia kind of like approaches you like, Rosny is a piece of shit. I need you to help me overthrow him. And she's afraid to start this coup. But I again, like all of the choices that you guys worked out, this is almost exactly how it would have played out. The only thing that I regret was how far I walked you guys in 2 weeks ago, without necessarily having the plan in action, because I thought it was going to be all about red wizards last week or last session. Instead of you're like, yeah, let's go for the wizards and fuck the UNT. So it was like a weird surprise where I'm like, oh man, I deleted all the Fane of the Night Servant maps. I gotta bring those up real quick.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, this is good. It's great.
But yeah, I mean, you guys, it's one of those weird moments. Chris is definitely about to benefit from your actions here because this was one of the points where next week definitely expect to take level 8. Um, it won't be like immediately. You guys will still have to make that decision. Do you fight um, further with Ras Nsi, or are you going to basically leave him to Fantasia or Fantaza? But yeah, that basically is like this campaign. You guys are effectively about to enter the final dungeon here. I think you have to treat with the red wizard still, but you should be able to collect those last two cubes from the yuan t, and you just have to negotiate with the wizards.